Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Ravens Call. Starting out at week 13. 5 more weeks of games to finish and see who is going to be making the playoffs, who's going to be looking for better draft picks, as well as some interesting games going forward to see who is the favorite to win. If you haven't already or don't know what this podcast consists of, you can go to my intro video or just go and follow week by week basis on where you want to start. This podcast is available on Spotify, YouTube, as well as Apple Podcasts, so go check those out. You can find links to all those in my Instagram page, as well as all of the streaming services should have links to each other for that. On that note, hope everyone is having a great Wednesday and ready to listen to some exciting NFL and Baltimore Ravens news. All right, so first game we got on the docket, we had some Thanksgiving games. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, good Black Friday, and headed into Sunday and Monday with those Cyber Monday deals, as well as some fun games on that Sunday as well, and that Monday. Let's get started with the Thanksgiving games. Now, like I said before, Bears versus Lions, I never go against the Lions just because they play really good, and they did. I mean, they looked very dominant. They just couldn't get in the end zone towards the end, and then in the fourth quarter, they just kind of slacked off, thinking that the game was over. It pretty much was, but you can't give up. You play all 4 quarters, and they really didn't, and almost lost the game because of it. So let's go over Bears. Caleb Williams had a pretty good performance, 20 to 39, 256, 3 touchdowns. He's there. He's starting to play a lot better, which is good for him. But not a lot of people see him as a Rookie of the Year candidate, and you can't blame him. They continue to lose. They just can't score points when need to. So didn't have a good running game. I mean, Caleb Williams ran for as many yards as Swift did, so that was tough. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore both had pretty good games, both of them combining for 3 touchdowns. So, I mean, I think that Caleb Williams doesn't get enough credit because he has the most stacked receiving core. He's got a great rookie receiver. He's got a good tight end, and he has 2 veteran receivers. So that's why he doesn't get as many votes as Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix, because they have to work it out with a lot of their guys that aren't elite, that aren't as veteran. Bo Nix has Sutton right now, and Jaden Daniels has Terry McLaurin, but they don't have the receiving core or as many weapons as Caleb Williams does. So we'll see. Maybe Caleb Williams makes a contention for it there. For Detroit, Jared Goff had a pretty decent game, 21 to 34, 222 and 2 touchdowns. Pretty good game. They started off really hot and then just kind of simmered. Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery both went at it. Both had over 85 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the passing game was just there, but they could just do no wrong in the run game. And then it just kind of fell off in the fourth quarter. But the Bears had a chance to actually tie the game up with a field goal. They were on I think it was the 40-yard line for Detroit towards the end, and they wasted about 30, 40 seconds on the clock instead of using their timeout. You could have saved the timeout and just gone a quick snap, but they let the clock run all the way down to 5 seconds and throw the ball. So you were pretty much wanting to end the game at that point. So that has led to the head coach being fired for the Bears, which I think everyone in the Bears organization is super happy about. I don't think that anyone's upset by that fact because no one likes the coach. The coach cost them many games this season. I think that the Bears could have been a lot better, but it was bad. But Bears lose another one, 23 to 20, a lot closer than we expected. Detroit goes to 11-1. They're starting to show a little signs of weakness, a little bit, but they're still the best team in the NFL. So got to give them credit there. Second game, I I didn't really watch. This was when you take your Thanksgiving nap, with a lot of people would do, because it's Cowboys and the Giants, and no one really cares because you got a backup versus a backup. So I figured they would do well here. Cooper Rush did okay. Drew Lock did okay besides the interception, but had 6 sacks. Rico Dowdle for Dallas was able to run the ball effectively. 22 carries, 112 yards, and touchdown. That's pretty much it. Giants started coming back late, but couldn't do anything towards the end. So Cowboys win 27-20 at that. Now on to the last game on Thanksgiving, the game that everyone was excited for, and has huge playoff implications for both teams, which we'll go over after I talk stats here. But Miami played pretty well. They just couldn't get it going when need be. Really started to hit on towards the end, but the Green Bay Packers just looked so dominant at the start. Halftime it was 24-3. Green Bay just looked really good on offense. So Tua 37-46, 365, and 2 touchdowns. Really good game. Couldn't run the ball effectively with 39 yards in total. Jonnu Smith has become the breakout star for them at tight end. 10 receptions, 113 yards. Tyreek Hill had a good game. Achane as well. Waddle, I guess. But they just couldn't do. It was too big of a deficit to come up from their end. Jordan Love had a really great game. 21-28, 274, and 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs ran for touchdown. Didn't have too much running, but it was run by committee. It was a really good game for the Packers. Showed a dominant win for them, showing that they are still trying to see if they can't win the division, as well as make it a little closer, because they're still in a playoff spot. They're in a pretty good position to be a wild card, but they're wanting that spot, the division spot for them. So we'll see what goes on there. But great win from the Packers. They won 30-17. Another great win. Miami losing this game really hurts them because they're going for a playoff spot, trying to get that last spot. And them 2 games behind everyone in the wild card, with a tough schedule up ahead, will be very tough for them to overcome. Now on to the Black Friday game, which no one cared about up until the end. Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders had a good game, 23-35, 342 touchdowns. Weren't able to run the ball too well. Brock Bowers had another great game, so Jacoby Meyer. Patrick Mahomes did pretty decent, I guess. Pacheco couldn't really run. Hopkins, Kelsey were there, but this really came down to it. Raiders scored a touchdown. They were up 17-16. Kansas City kicks a field goal, but the Raiders puts them up 17-19. Then the Raiders go down, and they had a good spot. They were in a good position to kick a field goal, and Kansas City gets bailed out by the refs again. So what happened was the center snapped the ball, but no one was on the line, so it should have been a false start. And Aiden O'Connell fumbled the ball, and the Chiefs recovered. So the big thing with that was, in a false start, the play's dead no matter what happens. In an illegal shift, or illegal formation, you play the down. Well, it was a false start, and the ref was already running on the field, calling it a false start. So if he's on the field, the play's dead because he's running towards them, signaling false start. So it's a false start. Then the play stopped. That's it. But they let the play resume, and then they changed the call from a false start to illegal formation, and they got the ball to win the game. So the Chiefs, again, squeak out another win, where I think a lot of people are starting to believe it more and more of there seems to be an agenda being passed of, when you play the Chiefs, you play the refs too. Let's see penalties-wise how that went. Just really quick. Yeah. Raiders, 9 penalties, 101 yards. Chiefs, 7 penalties, 40 yards. So it really shows that you're already at a disadvantage when you play the Chiefs. because they have to have the refs win because they're trying to make history some way, and the team hasn't looked good enough to actually beat any team, so they need a little bit of an edge on that. Don't get me wrong, the Chiefs are still a pretty good team, but they're not a very good team. They're not the team that won the Super Bowl last year, not even a little bit close to that. So, and if you watch all their games this season, they've been bailed out by penalties or just dumb luck. I don't know what deals they made, but their deals have been cashed in. But we'll see. I'm hoping that they lose one more time and Buffalo ends up getting that number 1 seed because I don't want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I don't believe that they deserve a Super Bowl spot anyway. I just don't like their team anymore. Looking forward to a heartbreaking loss for the Ravens here, which we'll go over in a little bit. But on to the Sunday games. Big battle here. Chargers playing for, to keep their wild card spot alive, as well as the Falcons trying to hold on to their lead in the division because that's probably the only way they'll get into the playoffs at this point in time. But, Herbert had a okay game. Like, it wasn't a crazy game. I mean, Vlad McConkey had 9 receptions for 117 yards. So he had all but 30 of Justin Herbert's yards. So it was not a very good game from the Chargers. I really don't know how they pulled this off offensively. Defensively, I do, because the Kirk Cousins show is starting to hurt them a lot because he threw 4 interceptions, which I believe one was returned for a touchdown, right? Yes, one was returned for a touchdown. That's how they ended up with the lead, and then they just couldn't get it back. But Kirk Cousins throws 4 interceptions. Bijan has a good game. Drake London has a good game. Pitts is nowhere to be found again. So I don't know what's wrong with the Falcons. I mean, they should be coasting to this, but now they've given the Bucs a chance to be in the playoffs again. But huge win for the Chargers, keeps them in that 5 spot. They play the Chiefs next week, so we'll see on that. But a good win for the Chargers, and Falcons have a lot of explaining to do. Steelers, Bengals. This was another good game. I really thought the Bengals would come out and win here, but I just didn't think that their defense could be that bad until it was. The Steelers could do no wrong on offense because the Bengals offense is pretty shitty. I will say that the Steelers, they deserve all the credit for this win. It's hard for me to say as a Raven. I don't see the Steelers as a contender at all. People can say what they want, but they rely solely on their defense. And if you even have a half decent defense and you can put up 20, they won't have this performance again. The reason you put up 44 is when you face the Bengals defense, you can score at will. There's no defense there. But this was a shootout until the end. And Russell Wilson had another, his first great game of the season. So, kudos to the Steelers. They're up 2 games on us, and I think they're going to end up with the AFC North division title at the end of it. But we'll see. They have to play the Bengals one more time. They have to play the Chiefs, the Eagles, and us again. So it's going to be a very tough matchup. But Steelers played really well this week. So kudos to them. The Bengals losing really helps the Broncos as well as us, because now the Bengals are 3 games behind and they have the easiest schedule going forward. So them losing that really helps the other teams stay in their playoff contentions here. 2-3 great morning games in the end. Cardinals and Minnesota. So Minnesota was trailing the entire game up until the very, very end. Vikings squeaked out a win 23-22. It was crazy. But Kyler Murray, 31 of 45, 260, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Able to run semi-decently, passing the ball. They did well. I mean, they looked really good going into the 4th quarter. And then Minnesota was able to just kind of turn on the Jets a little bit in their pass game. They were able to squeak out a win and able to really hold their own. This was a heartbreaking loss for the Cardinals because the Cardinals are trying to salvage and get themselves back up into their division lead. And with a loss like this, it's heartbreaking. I mean, they were expected to lose, but they were up 19-13 at this point. And then they kicked field goal, were up 22, and then Vikings were able to just put up 10. And it really hurt them offensively. Jay Jets finally was able to kind of get off the pedestal a little bit. He'd been double teamed most of the time, and then he just kind of was able to start breaking on that. So, yeah, Vikings squeak out a win 23-22. They're still going and trying to be division leaders as well, trying to beat the Detroit Lions. That another great game. This one, I kind of wanted the Patriots to win because the Colts are in playoff contention, and I don't really think they deserve to be in playoff contention. They're not a good team at all. Their defense is, they remind me of the Steelers, just a Timu or a Wish version of that, because they rely heavily on the run game. If they can't run, they can't really pass. I mean, Richardson had 109 yards passing. He ran for 46 yards and a touchdown. Drake May had a good game at quarterback, 24-30, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. They were able to run the ball effectively. I mean, I believed that the Patriots were going to win this one, and I was okay with that. And then Colts score a touchdown at the very end with like 12 or 5 seconds left. And they go for 2, and they run Richardson, and Richardson scores. So it was a very ballsy move by them on that. But Colts are 6-7. They are on a bye, and then they will play the Broncos, which that'll be for a lot for them, because if they lose that, it's going to be very hard for them to make the playoffs at that point. All right, so we got the Seahawks and the Jets. Another great game until the end. Seahawks won 26-21, creating another big gap for them in their division title race. And for the Jets, that pretty much eliminates them from contention. Geno Smith, 20-31, 206, 1 touchdown. Kenneth Walker wasn't really able to run the ball, but they were able to pass with Metcalf and Smith and Jigba. New York, Rodgers, 165, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. It was a decent game for them. They were able to do most of their stuff offensively when they got in the red zone. Fumbles lost by Seahawks really gave them a good position. But, Jets were sitting comfortably after the first quarter, and then they gave up 16 to the Seahawks, and then Jets shoot themselves in the foot like always and aren't able to score. So that really hurt them going forward. We're able to put a dud up, and that's the Jets season for you. They give it up when they need it most. I mean, Aaron Rodgers' pick was a 92-yard pick 6 that really cemented the game for the Seahawks. So Seahawks go up and get a really staple of a win. They're 1 game up on the Cardinals with the tiebreaker as well. Jets fall to 3-9 and looking to crumble. You have Adams, Wilson, Breece Hall, Rodgers, a great defense, and you're 3-9. It's pretty sad, but it's kind of funny because that's the New York way at this point. Now on to what was a blowout. I'm not even going to really go over Tennessee, because Tennessee's pretty terrible. They didn't really do anything other than what was given to them at that point. Let's go over Washington. Jaden Daniels, 25-30, 206, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He even ran 1 in. Brian Robinson Jr., 16 carries, 103 yards and touchdown. Chris Rodriguez Jr., 13 carries, 94 yards and touchdown. They were able to run the ball, pass the ball at will. Scary Terry with 2 touchdowns. They were dominant. It was 28-7 at halftime. They kind of cruised it in the third. Then they're like, okay, let's just turn it up a notch, and then score 2 more touchdowns in the fourth. So dominant win for the Commanders, 42-19. We're able to bounce back, and they're sitting at that 7 spot in the playoffs, hoping to keep that up there. For that, onto the last morning game, which was a lot closer than people expected, and a lot of people are like me and just seeing the Houston Texans and like, these guys are shot. They look dead. They look like a horse that needs to be kind of put down, so to speak, because they look terrible and they don't have an easy schedule coming up. They're hoping to keep the lead in their division because it's a tough one, but we'll go over that a little later. CJ Stroud, 22 of 34, 242 yards and a touchdown. Mixon was able to really crack open and get 101 yards and touchdown. Nico Collins, 8 receptions, 119 yards. But, I mean, look at that. Tank Dell's not there. You know, no one else is really stepping up to help Nico Collins. So it's pretty much Collins, Mixon, and Stroud. And even then, you know, they faced a Jacksonville team that was without Trevor Lawrence at one point in the game because he got a cheap shot of a hit. And they got a cheap shot of a hit on Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence is out with a concussion, which one of their players got suspended for 3 games on that, which he's the captain of their defense. So him being out for 3 games, the Texans do not have a easy schedule coming up. But they let Mac Jones torch them, 20 of 32, 2 touchdowns. You know, he did really well. It's just crazy. I mean, Houston Texans win 23-20, but you watch that game, you don't see the Texans team that was so good last year. You know, and they need to step it up because, I mean, the Colts are only 2 games back, and Houston needs to win those. Because if Houston doesn't win, the Colts will squeak over and take their playoff spot. I do not think that they want that. But on to the afternoon games. Rams won 21-14, pretty dull game at the start, 6-0 at halftime. Kamara was the guy for the Saints that kept him in the game with the rushing, but you know, Stafford was able to pass the ball for 2 touchdowns to Puka. Kyron Williams, 15 carries, 104 yards and touchdown. You know, it was a slow game, and then they kind of stepped it up offensively in the end and scored 21 points to end the game. But you know, Saints lost Taysom Hill for the year, and once they lost him, they just couldn't do anything. So, yeah, it was a tough game for the Saints. Saints are 4-8, not out of their division on that for them. Rams are 6-6, so they're still looking 1 game behind Seahawks for that lead on there. Bucks and Panthers. Now, this was a tough one because Panthers are playing pretty well. I mean, but we'll go over that in just a second. This ended up going to overtime where the Bucks won 26-23. Baker did not have his best game passing. 21-33, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 4 sacks. Actually ended up getting injured, but you know, Bucky Irving was able to step up in the run game for them. 25 carries, 152 yards and touchdown. He's able to help in the pass game. Mike Evans, 8 receptions, 118 yards and a touchdown. Caden Otten, surprisingly, has not been as good since Mike Evans has gotten back, which is kind of tough, but you know, we'll see what that goes. But they were able to come up big in the fourth quarter and put themselves in a good position to, you know, take over, because now the Falcons are 6-6 to where now Tampa Bay and Falcons are tied to where it comes up to the end of the season. So I really hope the Bucks win. I don't think that Atlanta should really be in the playoffs because it's not going to be as fun. They're not going to put up a fight. They're just going to lay down and die kind of scenario. But Panthers gave the Bucks a run for their money. Bryce Young, 26-46, 298 and a touchdown. He's playing really good. I'm happy for him. I think he's starting to get better. I mean, when you have Thielen too, 8 receptions, 99 yards and a touchdown. He played amazing as well. So, but Chuba Hubbard fumbled in the overtime. It really hurt them, and they were able to get a field goal off of it. So Bucks 6-6, but Panthers are starting to look to the future and see some hope in that. On to the Sunday night snowy game. The Buffalo Bills and the 49ers. I'm just going to let you know right now this was a blowout. Brock Purdy looked terrible. McCaffrey got injured. Jordan Mason got injured. So their season's pretty much done. Debo's non-existent. George Kittle's non-existent. You know, I didn't even watch the end of the game because I knew that this was going to not go over well. The 49ers are a shell of themselves. They don't look like a playoff team. They lost the ball 3 times. So Buffalo looks like the best team in football. Josh Allen, to me, MVP. I love Lamar, but I think that Josh Allen's got this one. I think Lamar's okay with that. I don't really think he cares about the MVP. He wants the Super Bowl just as much as Allen does, but Allen's never won an MVP. So I don't think. Don't quote me on that, but I don't think Josh Allen's won MVP. I hope he does. I think he's well deserving of it. 13-17, 148 yards and a touchdown. He also caught a touchdown in a weird way. So he threw the ball to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper lateraled it to Josh Allen, and Josh Allen scored the touchdown. So he threw the ball, then caught the ball for a touchdown. So they were able to run the ball effectively with Ray Davis, James Cook. Not much passing, but pretty dominant performance by them. They won 35-10, 10-2, hoping that the Chiefs will lose one more time to a team so that they can take that number 1 spot and get that bye. I hope they do, because if how the playoff picture goes and Buffalo's number 1, the Chiefs would play the Broncos, and I think that the Broncos would win that game. On to the Monday night game. This was a crazy game, let me tell you. Denver Bronco really misses Riley Moss. Riley Moss was not in this game, and it really showed because there's a guy, his name's Levi Wallace, and he is probably one of the worst cornerbacks I've seen play. He let Jerry Jeudy go for 235 yards and touchdown against his old team. I mean, he was flat-footed every time. He just let Jeudy run for a 70-yard touchdown. And Judy's not even that good of a receiver. Jeudy had a good game. I'll give him that. He had a great game, a phenomenal game. He's been in the league, I think, 3 or 4 years. This is the only time he's ever been good, was this one game. Never did it for Denver, ever. Has not really done it for Cleveland. I mean, maybe the last 2 games because no one pays attention to Jeudy because no one cares. They were more worried if Tillman was in or Njoku, which Njoku had a good game. 9 receptions, 52 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, I could have told you. I watched this game. I could have told you who they were going to every single time. And that's just not off knowledge. That's because they're so... The Cleveland looks so predictable at what they were going to do. They had run I don't know. I'm not really going to go too much into it, but Jeudy had a good game against his old team. His first good game of his career. And he still lost, so I don't think that anyone's going to care. You could have the best game, but if you lose, it doesn't matter. But Jameis Winston had a good game, 34-58, 497 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. 2 of those interceptions went for touchdowns, which cost them the game. They couldn't run the ball. Passing, Jeudy and Njoku were the main guys. Elijah Moore had 8 receptions, 111 yards. Most of those was just first play of the game and towards the end when the game was pretty much over. Now on to Denver. Bo Nix, it was a little rougher performance for him. 18-35, 294 yards, touchdown and 2 interceptions. One of the interceptions was mainly on his receiver because, he put it in perfect position and he just missed it. McLaughlin had a good game running. I definitely think that Jelante Williams for Denver needs to be he needs to be a backup and not be running the ball. He doesn't seem to find the holes. He can't run into the gaps. He's not a big boy runner anymore. That's Estime. I would just run McLaughlin, Estime, and Mims for the rest of the time. Marvin Mims really good game, had a 93-yard touchdown. It was a beautiful throw by Bo Nix. Cortland Sutton had a good game. It was a good game for the offense. Denver's defense struggled a little bit because it was mainly that one cornerback that they just couldn't take care of. The Wallace that I talked about before. He was absolutely terrible. I would cut his ass. I wouldn't put him in. He reminds me of Mathis that they still have. He's number 27. He's terrible too. Just put both of them out of their misery. They don't need to be playing. They need to be riding bench for the rest of the season. So that is it for the NFL games of the week. Now we're going to go on to the Baltimore Ravens, which heartbreaking loss, but we'll talk about that more. But again, now on to the team that makes your heart race every single week because they almost give you a heart attack every week. The Baltimore Ravens. All right, so we lost 24-19. Did we lose to the Eagles? No, we lost to ourselves again. The Eagles did not have a good game. They are not a team that I'm scared to play again at all. The Saquon Barkley went off like normal, but even then we were able to manage the game. I mean, Jalen Hurts, 118 yards, a touchdown. We held AJ Brown to 66 yards towards the end of the third quarter. Saquon had, I think, like 50 or 60 yards. Like, we were handling him well. Our defense has looked really good. That's what I'm very happy to see, is our defense is looking a lot better. Now it's our offense, and it starts with the offensive line. I definitely think that Falele on a right guard and Makari at left guard need to be replaced. They cannot help us in the run game. Yes, Derrick Henry went 19 carries, 82 yards. But there was a lot of times where he was met in the backfield. And every one of them stemmed from left or right tackle, or left or right guard, sorry. But let's go over the game for the Eagles. The Eagles are 10-2. A lot of people can say, well, they did really well. Look, you did okay. We shot ourselves in the foot. I mean, let's check penalties really quick again. I think we did well. We did well penalty-wise, but we could have put up a lot more points, which we'll talk about here in a second. But Jalen Hurts, 11-19, 118 yards and touchdown. Not his best game. Saquon Barkley, 23 carries, 107 yards and touchdown. Probably one of the only reasons that they were in this game. Like I said before, it comes down to Saquon. You contain Saquon, you win the game. Lamar Jackson, 23-36, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns. Didn't look too good towards the end for both of them. Lamar Jackson just doesn't seem to want to be running as much up until the end. He had 8 carries, 79 yards, but one of them was a 39-yard run towards the end. Zay Flowers, 3 receptions, 74 yards. Andrews, touchdown. He played well. Likely played well, but, Aguilar dropped a huge one. Devontae Johnson's not out there. Bateman gets injured. Yeah. It was a rough game. And then to top it all off, we had Justin Tucker miss an extra point and 2 field goals that pretty much put the Eagles in position to score in the second and the fourth quarter. You make those field goals, we win the game. Pretty simple. And you could say, well, it's a huge what if. Well, we got in the positions to score. We were up 9-0. So if he makes the extra point, we're up 10-0. We kick the extra point, we're up 13-0. The Eagles don't get in position to score, so they don't get their 7. They would have scored in the second quarter, so they would have had a 7. Missed field goal in the fourth, which led to their, I think, touchdown or their field goal. So say what you want, do what you will, but I watched the game. I've watched the highlights over and over, and I don't see how the Eagles beat us. Eagles, if we are in the Super Bowl and I'm playing the Eagles, I am very confident in our ability to beat them again. Very confident. Because if we fix Tucker is a great kicker. And I know everyone who's a Ravens fan is going to say, he's not the same person. Let him go. He will figure it out. He's the greatest kicker of all time in accuracy. Now he's not, but he will figure it out when we need him most. The bye week is crucial for our team, and I think it's going to be very helpful going forward for us. Our defense is starting to play a lot better. We're going to hopefully start getting Deontay Johnson into the fold, start making plays for him, start seeing that one-on-one matchup, because Zay Flowers and him together could be deadly if Bateman is out. Andrews is starting to come up to speed. Henry will start running more effectively once we get our line knocked down. We took 3 sacks that game. We haven't taken sacks in a while. I think it's time for Falele to be gone, because the penalties come from them, our left and right guard. Our sacks come from the left and right guard. Our run game comes from the left and right guard. If you watch tape, you'll see that. But good defensive game for us again. Our defense has stepped up the past 2 weeks. Our offense has been a little sluggish, but I think that the bye week is really going to help us go into it. We play the Giants next after the bye week, so that'll be a good warm-up game for us before we start having to face the Texans, the Browns, and the Steelers again. So, it's a reality check that we need. I like our record. I mean, we could be a lot better, but the Ravens, when they're at the top, always end up falling short of that pedestal. I want us in the wild card, but I want us, at home, because I think we need that. I think we need to play on the road. I think we need to be the underdogs. I think that we need to be doubted, because that's how we play the best. So that's kind of how it goes there. But all right, that's it for what I'm going to talk about the Ravens. Let's go on to the Week 14 preview. And we got a good one. Thursday night. Wow. That is a good game right there. Packers and Lions. Lions are favored by 3.5. That's tough, because the Lions just looked terrible on defense against the Bears, and Packers look good. I'm going to go with the upset here and go with Packers. I don't know why. I just have a feeling. I'm probably really wrong at that, but look, if the Lions win by a lot, it shows that the Lions are the best team in football. If they don't, it looks like just a chink in the armor, and the Packers could be good too. So, oh yay, Jaguars Titans. I'm gonna go Titans here. Trevor Lawrence is probably out. Titans have a pretty good defense, so I think that the Titans will win this one. Jets Dolphins. I'm gonna go Jets, but this could be another upset watch. Jets played really good against the Seahawks, and I don't know if they played already. Let me check here. They have not. So, yeah, I think that the Jets may pull that off. We'll see. Falcons Vikings. Now this hurts, because Falcons needed that easy win. That it's not an easy win. They needed that win against the Chargers, because now they have to play the Vikings, which, if the Bucks can beat the Raiders and they lose, the Bucks they take over for the division. So I think Minnesota is going to win this game. I don't really have much faith in Kirk Cousins at this point, and I think the Vikings will step up when need to and win the game. Giants, Saints, Eagles, Panthers. I mean, come on. Steelers, Browns. I think the Steelers will learn from their mistake against the Browns, and they'll win for sure. Bucks, Raiders. Bucks are going to win that one. Now, this is a huge game here too. Seahawks and Cardinals. Now the Seahawks need this game, because that puts them in a 2 lead. Let me see. Because the 49ers play the Bears, which the 49ers probably win that, but they're already 2 games behind. The Bills will play the Rams, and the Bills need to keep winning. So if the Bills beat the Rams, that puts them at 6-7, puts the 49ers at 6-7, and if the Seahawks win, there's your 2-game lead of the division at that point. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks. They were able to hold Kyler Murray in check last time. On that, Bills, Rams, Bills, 49ers, Bears, 49ers, even if they're playing like how they are. And I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. I'm okay. I would love to see the Chargers win because that would make the Bills hopefully go to the number 1 seed, which I want. Because I'd love to see the Chiefs play first round. Love to. Because I don't think that they're going to be able to hack it. But again, teams step up in the playoffs when they need to, and they're championship caliber teams. So, and Cincinnati Cowboys, wow, not the best Monday night game, to tell you that. Bengals are going to win that one. Broncos, Colts, Patriots, Commanders, Ravens, and Texans are all on a bye. So, all right, let's go to, we're going to talk about the standings, the playoff picture really quick. So, as of right now, Buffalo, after they just won, they won their division, so they're in a good position. So they're already going to be for a home playoff game, whatever seed that may be. Chiefs are at the 11-1, Bills 10-2. Steelers 2-game lead on the Ravens, 9-3. Texans are 8-5, but they're holding a 2-game lead, so really tough for them. Chargers, Ravens, Denver, all at kind of the 8-5 range. I mean, Chargers have to play against the Chiefs, so let's just say that they're 8-5. It really doesn't matter. They're all holding two-game leads on the Colts, the Dolphins, and a 3-game lead on the Bengals. So for the Colts to win it they will have to beat the Broncos, and they have a pretty easy schedule going out. You know, they have the chance there. So if they lose to the Broncos, they're pretty much done. Dolphins, they have the Jets, which is going to be a tough game. Texans, that tough game. 49ers, yeah, I don't think that they're going to make it here. They will lose to at least one or two of these teams on that front. So they're probably out. Bengals at 4-8, they needed to beat the Steelers. They have the Broncos and Steelers at the end. They cannot lose any more games. They'll beat the Cowboys. They'll beat the Titans. The Browns will be a little tougher. But the last 3 games, you lose any of those games, you're done. So, and it's kind of shocking with how Burrow is playing. Now on to the NFC. We got the Lions, Eagles, Seahawks are 1-game lead so far on the Cardinals, which that's going to be a huge win for them to see. Falcons are at the 4th spot, but they're tied with Tampa Bay, but they have the tiebreaker, so that could hurt them. And then pretty huge lead with the Vikings, Packers, Commanders, all for the playoff spots. Yeah, it shows that they're 1 game behind, but the Commanders have played 13 games. Tampa Bay, Cardinals, and Rams. Yeah, I mean, the Commanders have a bye this week. So they've already played their 13 games. So, their 1-game lead is more of like a 1.5 because we have to see what happens there. But even then, I think the Commanders would take the 7th spot here. But you never know. We'll see. The Falcons have a tough go of it lately. We'll go over the Ravens really quick for my team. So we have a bye week this week. This will really help us. We need to stop beating ourselves. Play the Giants, which that'll be a good bounce back game for us and just trying to become more dominant in how we are. Got the Steelers at home. We go to the Texans on Christmas, but I feel pretty confident with how the Texans are playing that we'll whoop their ass. And then the Browns. I'm predicting 3-1. I'd love to go 4-0 to end the season so we hit the playoffs in stride. But I'm not counting my chickens or thinking too far ahead because I can't seem to trust the team. I mean, we look of a shell of what we are last year. Our defense is starting to turning up while our offense is starting to turn it down. So, yeah. And then for Broncos fans, you guys got a pretty tough schedule going forward. that win against the Browns was huge. If you can beat the Colts, you pretty much set yourself up for a good position to be in the playoffs, so to speak. I do think that Chargers will give them problems. The Bengals, it'll be a little tougher because the Bengals, they played the Steelers defense, and yeah, it was really tough. But Joe Burrow, I don't know, because the Denver does it so different than the Pittsburgh does, because Pittsburgh is a one-man wrecking crew in Highsmith and Watt on the corners, and they don't have as good of cornerback play. But the Denver does it by committee. Denver just gave up a lot of points, but we'll see. I mean, I'm excited to see what goes on from here. Yeah, it's going to be a very exciting week 14 and going forward on that. All right, I want to thank you guys all for listening. I'll be live. My podcast will go live at 12 on Wednesday, like it always does, keeping that same schedule throughout the rest of the year, throughout the playoffs, and we'll keep it going every Wednesday, just talking about what's going on in the NFL until we get into next season too. So hoping to see how that goes going forward. I'll make sure to post something on my Instagram page. I didn't for my last episode because got really busy at that front, but I'll make sure to post that on my Instagram page and my Facebook page as well. Remember, my podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe to whatever platform you prefer. Or feel free to comment, or if you want me to talk about anything, please let me know. There's no topic of football that I don't not want to talk about besides the Browns. Also, again, all the music and sound is provided by my brother-in-law, Justin. So, Justin, thank you for that. Well, Ravens Nation, thanks again for joining me on this episode. Until next time, stay fierce, stay loyal, and keep rooting for that purple and black. I'll see you next time on The Ravens Call.